Hello, and welcome back to Best English Podcast. I'm your host, Sophia, and I'm so glad you're here today. If this is your first time tuning in, I want to give you a warm, heartfelt welcome. You didn't just stumble upon this podcast. You came here because you want to grow, to improve your English, to expand your mind, and to invest in yourself. Here at Best English Podcast, we believe that learning is not just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about confidence, communication, and connection. Every day, we bring you simple, powerful lessons that help you speak better English and live a better life. So, if you're ready to build your skills, feed your motivation, and take small steps every day toward a brighter future, then you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and let's grow together. Today, we're embarking on an exciting, in-depth journey to explore how you can truly learn to speak English easily and fluently. This isn't just another discussion about grammar rules or vocabulary lists. While those have their essential place, our focus today is on a much more natural, human-centered approach, one that truly resonates with how we genuinely acquire and use language in the real world. We'll be diving into practical strategies, weaving in many relatable, real-life examples, and providing abundant opportunities for you, our dedicated listeners, to engage, to practice, and most importantly, to grow your confidence and capabilities. Remember, we upload a new episode daily, so you'll always have fresh content to help you on your journey. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our daily tips. And if you find this episode helpful, please share it with a friend. Speaking a new language, especially when you feel like you have a solid understanding of its mechanics, can still feel incredibly daunting, can't it? I remember when I first started trying to converse spontaneously in a language other than English. My mind would race, a frantic translator working overtime, trying to painstakingly construct every thought from my native tongue into the new language, word by laborious word. By the time I managed to formulate a coherent sentence, the conversation had often moved on, or the moment had simply evaporated. It felt much like trying to swim against a strong, invisible current, exhausting and often discouraging. Perhaps many of you have experienced this very feeling, that frustrating hesitation, the sensation of having all the words seemingly present in your head, yet struggling profoundly to get them out, to articulate them smoothly and naturally. This internal battle, this feeling of being stuck, is a perfectly normal and very common part of the language learning process. But today, we're going to systematically dismantle those barriers, addressing them one thoughtful, empowering step at a time. Fluency isn't about speaking perfectly, without a single grammatical error or mispronounced word. Instead, it's about speaking effectively and confidently. It's about the ability to express your thoughts, your ideas, and your feelings clearly and without undue hesitation. It's about being able to connect authentically with others, to participate meaningfully in discussions, and to navigate a wide range of everyday situations without overwhelming stress or constant mental translation. Think of it less like an arduous climb up a steep, unforgiving mountain where every misstep means falling back down, and more like the liberating process of learning to ride a bicycle. At first, it's undeniably wobbly, you might lose your balance, and yes, you might even fall a few times. But with consistent, patient practice, that initial awkwardness transforms. The movements become fluid, intuitive, and eventually, riding becomes second nature, freeing you to simply enjoy the ride, to explore new paths, and to experience the world around you with effortless grace. That, dear listeners, is the essence of true communicative fluency. Let's begin by directly addressing a pervasive and often paralyzing misconception that many English learners hold: the idea that you need to be absolutely perfect to speak English. I want to state this unequivocally: absolutely not. In fact, the relentless pursuit of perfection can actually be a significant enemy of genuine fluency. When we set an impossibly high standard of absolute perfection for ourselves, we often become overly self-conscious, excessively critical of our own attempts, and, most damagingly, terribly afraid of making any mistakes. This deep-seated fear is one of the biggest and most insidious roadblocks to uninhibited natural speaking. Instead, I urge you, right here and now, to consciously and actively embrace imperfection. See every single mistake you make not as a failure but as a valuable piece of feedback, a crucial data point, a stepping stone on your path. Each error is simply a sign that you are actively engaging with the language, pushing your boundaries, and learning. It's proof that you're moving forward. I vividly recall a student named Ben, whose story perfectly illustrates this point. Ben was an exceptionally intelligent individual, a truly voracious reader of English literature, and his written English was impeccable, often rivaling that of a native speaker in its precision and elegance. Yet, when it came to speaking, he would invariably clam up, his voice barely above a whisper, his sentences halting and fragmented. He confessed to me with a profound sense of frustration that he was utterly terrified of mispronouncing even a single word or using the wrong grammatical tense. His fear was so acute it often prevented him from speaking at all. We began working not just on his linguistic skills, but fundamentally on his mindset, shifting his focus from an impossible ideal of perfection to the more attainable and liberating goal of clear communication. I encouraged him, gently but persistently, to participate in a local English conversation group, advising him that the primary objective was simply to speak, to engage, even if it meant making numerous errors. He later shared a pivotal story about his very first meeting there. He was attempting to explain his complex job as a software developer, a topic he knew intimately in his native language. However, in his nervousness and his subconscious struggle for perfect vocabulary, he repeatedly used the word program when he actually meant project. He was mortified, feeling a flush of shame creeping up his neck as he realized his error in real time. But then another group member, a kind and patient native speaker, gently and naturally rephrased his sentence using the correct word, project, without any judgment or fanfare. Ben immediately understood the subtle but important distinction. Crucially, nobody laughed at him. They simply understood, and the conversation flowed seamlessly forward. This small, seemingly insignificant moment was a massive turning point for Ben. He experienced firsthand that people genuinely cared more about understanding his message, about connecting with him, than about him being grammatically flawless. From that day on, a profound shift occurred within him. His fear began to dissipate, his self-consciousness lessened, and his speaking fluency improved dramatically, almost as if a heavy weight had been lifted from his linguistic shoulders. So, the first, most crucial, and deeply empowering step to speaking English easily and fluently is to consciously and actively shift your mindset from an unattainable ideal of perfection to the achievable and deeply rewarding goal of effective communication. Your primary objective is to convey your message, to make a connection, to share your thoughts. The refinement of grammar and the expansion of vocabulary will naturally and inevitably improve with consistent, courageous practice and interaction. Now, let's delve deeper into building a truly robust foundation for speaking. This foundation isn't merely about ticking boxes in grammar books or mechanically memorizing vocabulary lists. It's about active, immersive engagement with the language in a rich tapestry of ways. The cornerstone of effective speaking is undoubtedly profound, comprehensive input. Think of your brain not just as a sponge, but as a sophisticated supercomputer, constantly ready to soak up and process new information. The more high-quality English you absorb through both extensive listening and focused reading, the richer and deeper the wellspring from which your spontaneously spoken English will flow. This concept is utterly fundamental. You simply cannot produce naturally what you haven't first meaningfully consumed. For all learners, this means diving into listening and reading materials that are challenging enough to promote genuine growth, pushing you slightly beyond your comfort zone, but crucially, comprehensible enough to prevent overwhelming frustration. It's about finding that exquisite sweet spot where understanding clicks, where the context guides you, even if every single word isn't immediately clear on its own. Let's expand further on the transformative power of listening. Its absolute relevance to speaking cannot be overstated. They are two sides of the same linguistic coin. Active listening is far more than just hearing sounds. It's about diligently internalizing the natural rhythm, the nuanced intonation, the authentic pauses, and the common expressions of English. When you listen extensively to genuine conversations, real-world news reports, engaging narratives, or even casual banter, your brain begins to instinctively map sounds to meanings and to recognize typical sentence structures without you consciously having to analyze them. Imagine hearing a native speaker consistently use phrases like, "I was just about to say that," or "it goes without saying," or "to make a long story short." The more you hear these naturally occurring patterns, the more likely your brain is to retrieve and deploy them when you're speaking, making your own speech sound far more natural, less translated, and effortlessly idiomatic. For example, my friend Anna, whose initial struggles I mentioned, told me how her breakthrough in natural English conversation came when she bravely stopped trying to translate Polish idioms directly into English, which often resulted in awkward or nonsensical phrases. Instead, she deliberately focused on listening to how English speakers expressed similar ideas, paying close attention to their everyday expressions. She started noticing common conversational tags like, "you know," or "right," or "if you ask me," and consciously, deliberately tried to weave them into her own speech. At first, she admitted, it felt somewhat artificial, like she was mimicking, but with consistent, focused listening and deliberate practice, these became second nature, flowing effortlessly from her. This kind of nuanced understanding of conversational flow, the subtle cues of engagement and emphasis, primarily comes from extensive, attentive listening. This isn't just about hearing individual words, it's about understanding how they fit together, how native speakers connect thoughts smoothly, and how they use tone to convey complex emotions and subtle intentions. For instance, notice how a speaker's voice might rise subtly at the end of a question, even a declarative one, or how they might drop their voice for emphasis or finality. These subtle, yet profoundly important prosodic cues are best learned through consistent, attentive listening to a wide range of authentic English speech. And then there's reading, listening's quiet, yet profoundly powerful sibling. While listening meticulously trains your ear, reading meticulously trains your eye to recognize intricate patterns, absorb expansive vocabulary, and grasp complex grammatical structures in a less fleeting, more permanent way. When you read, you have the invaluable luxury of pausing, rereading difficult sections, and slowly absorbing information at your own comfortable pace. For learners, choosing graded readers, articles on topics you genuinely enjoy, or even simplified news stories from reputable sources can be incredibly beneficial. As you read, make it a conscious habit to pay attention not just to new individual words, but to how entire sentences are constructed. Notice how different ideas are linked together using conjunctions and transition words, how opinions are artfully presented and supported, and how questions are phrased. For instance, if you're engrossed in reading an article about environmental issues, you might frequently notice phrases like "on the one hand" and "on the other hand" used to meticulously present contrasting viewpoints. When you later want to express a balanced opinion in a conversation, those very same structures will be far more readily available and accessible to you, flowing more naturally. Think of a student I know, David, who possesses an insatiable love for science fiction. He purposefully started reading simplified science fiction novels in English. He wasn't just learning new vocabulary related to spaceships, alien species, and advanced technologies. He was inadvertently absorbing complex narrative structures, rich descriptive language, and sophisticated dialogue patterns. This rich, consistent reading input provided him with an ever-expanding mental library of sentence structures and vocabulary that he could then effortlessly draw upon when discussing his favorite books, or indeed, when conversing about any other topic in English. The more you read, the more you expose yourself to correct, natural sentence structures and authentic idiomatic expressions, which silently but powerfully build your internal grammar and vocabulary database, making it readily available for spontaneous speaking. Reading widely also familiarizes you with various registers and styles of English, from formal academic prose to informal blog posts, preparing you for a diverse range of conversational contexts. Building your core vocabulary actively is another absolutely crucial cornerstone for speaking. While broad exposure through extensive listening and comprehensive reading helps immensely with passive recognition, understanding words when you hear or read them, to truly speak easily and fluently, you need words that are not merely understood, but are also readily accessible right at the tip of your tongue for immediate active use. This means moving beyond just knowing a word's dictionary definition to being able to produce it spontaneously, appropriately, and correctly in a sentence, without hesitation. Focus intently on high-frequency words that are essential for everyday communication and, even more importantly, on high-frequency phrases or chunks of language that are directly relevant to your daily life, your interests, and your common conversational scenarios. Instead of just memorizing single, isolated words like difficult or important, make it a deliberate practice to learn them within common collocations or ready-made expressions. For instance, a difficult situation, or it's important to remember, or to make a difficult decision. These chunks are the fundamental building blocks of how native speakers often communicate, often without even thinking about individual words. Using these prefabricated chunks will make your English sound far more natural, more idiomatic, and less like a direct word-for-word translation from your native language. For instance, when you want to express surprise in a casual conversation, a native speaker might simply say, "You're kidding," rather than meticulously, grammatically constructing, "Are you telling me something that is not true?" Learning, "You're kidding," as a complete single chunk means you can deploy it instantly and appropriately without any laborious mental assembly. Other invaluable chunks that are immensely useful for conversational fluency include I'm looking forward to zrение. It depends on. Logically, what do you mean by that? Зрение. Я полностью согласен, не согласен. Кстати. Component placement. On the one hand, on the other hand. The more of these common, highly functional chunks you internalize and actively practice, the less your brain has to work consciously to construct sentences from individual words. This, in turn, significantly reduces hesitation, fills awkward pauses, and dramatically increases your overall speaking fluency. A powerful and highly effective technique for active vocabulary acquisition is to always learn new words embedded within a full sentence, and even better, within a sentence that is personal and meaningful to you. If you learn the word enthusiastic, don't just jot down its definition in your notebook. Instead, write, I'm really enthusiastic about learning English, or my friend is an enthusiastic runner who trains every day. This kind of deep personalization embeds the word firmly in a context that's directly relevant and emotionally meaningful to you, making it exponentially easier to recall and use in your own spoken output. Keep a dedicated vocabulary notebook, a physical one, or use a digital flashcard app, ensuring each entry meticulously includes the new word, its definition, its pronunciation, and crucially, at least one example. Sentence that is truly relevant and personal to your life. Make it a daily ritual to review these actively. Spend just 5 minutes each day going through your personalized list and deliberately trying to say the example sentences aloud. This active recall, the act of physically producing the language, helps to powerfully move words from your passive understanding to your active speaking vocabulary. Let's try a small yet impactful vocabulary practice right now. I'll give you a common English word, and I want you to immediately think of a sentence using it, focusing on a personal connection, something that truly resonates with your own experiences. Don't worry if it's not perfect or if you hesitate slightly. The goal is simply to try and create a sentence aloud. The word is challenge. Go ahead, say a sentence about challenge aloud, perhaps relating to your English learning journey or another aspect of your life. Did you say something like, learning to speak English fluently is a big challenge for me, but I'm enjoying it? Or, yesterday, I faced a challenge at work, but I managed to solve it. Excellent. That direct act of creating a personal sentence, of connecting the abstract word to your lived experience, is absolutely crucial for making the word an active, usable part of your speaking repertoire. This immediate application of new vocabulary in a personal context is what truly makes it stick, transforming passive knowledge into dynamic, active speech. Now, let's turn our focused attention to grammar for speaking. It's vital to shift your perception of grammar from a set of rigid rules to be memorized in isolation to a dynamic system of tools that function to convey precise meaning and nuance in real-time conversation. You undoubtedly already know many grammatical rules from your dedicated studies. The fundamental challenge now is to activate them, to make them spontaneously accessible and usable in your real-time speech. Instead of solely focusing on isolating grammar exercises in textbooks, try to notice recurring grammar patterns in your input and then deliberately practice using those very same patterns in your output. This iterative process is how grammar truly becomes ingrained for active use. For example, mastering and confidently using various past tenses, the simple past, the present perfect, and the past continuous to tell compelling stories and recount personal experiences is absolutely vital. Instead of just knowing the theoretical rules for each tense, Make it a practice to describe your last weekend using all three. You might say, "Last Saturday, I went to the park. I had been planning to go all week, so I was really looking forward to it. While I was walking through the park, I suddenly saw an old friend I hadn't seen in years." This type of integrated practice helps you naturally weave different grammatical tenses into your spontaneous speech, making your narratives more vivid and accurate. Similarly, understanding and confidently using various forms of conditionals allows you to discuss hypothetical situations, articulate future plans, express possibilities, or offer advice, all of which are common and essential conversational functions. "If I had more time, I would travel more extensively," or "If it rains tomorrow, we will stay home." These grammatical structures are not merely academic exercises, they are powerful tools for expressing complex thoughts and engaging in more sophisticated conversations. Remember the insightful story of my friend Elena, who struggled profoundly with using the present perfect tense naturally in conversation. She understood the theoretical rule perfectly from her grammar books. But despite this theoretical understanding, she couldn't use it spontaneously when speaking. I suggested she start keeping a present perfect journal for just 1 week. Every day she had to write 5 simple sentences about things she has done or hasn't done recently, or experiences she has had that were relevant to her life. For example, "I have visited Paris twice," or "I haven't finished my homework yet, so I need to keep working," or "My sister has just started a new job." After a week of consistently writing and mentally articulating these sentences, she started to notice the tense popping up naturally and effortlessly in her conversations, especially when talking about her recent experiences or accomplishments. This compelling example demonstrates how connecting grammar directly to real-life usage, even initially through written practice, can powerfully activate it for spontaneous speaking. The aim is to move from a conscious, rule-based understanding of grammar to its unconscious, automatic, and intuitive application during the flow of conversation. This crucial bridge is built through consistent, meaningful, and context-rich practice. The most critical and non-negotiable step in learning to speak English easily and fluently is active production. You cannot learn to speak without speaking. This might sound utterly obvious, yet it is a truth frequently overlooked or avoided by many learners who spend countless hours consuming English without ever truly practicing the physical act of speaking. The incredibly good news is that you don't always need a live conversation partner to gain immensely valuable speaking practice. One of the most powerful, accessible, and often underestimated tools is self-talk. This involves consciously and deliberately speaking to yourself in English, either silently in your head or, even better, aloud. Narrate your day as it unfolds. Describe what you're currently doing, what you're seeing around you, what you're thinking or feeling. When you're making breakfast, you could say aloud, "Okay, I'm going to make some toast now. First, I need to get the bread from the cupboard. Then I'll put it in the toaster. I like my toast lightly browned, so I'll set the dial to medium. While it's toasting, I'll pour myself a glass of orange juice. Oh, I hope I don't burn it this time." When you're walking outside, describe your surroundings and your observations. The sun is shining brightly today. There are many tall trees in the park, and their leaves are a vibrant green. A happy dog is running playfully after a red ball, its tail wagging excitedly. The air feels cool and fresh. I wonder if it will stay sunny all day. This seemingly simple, even quirky, activity forces your brain to rapidly retrieve words, construct grammatically sound sentences, and articulate thoughts spontaneously in real time, exactly as you would in a genuine conversation. It builds vital mental muscle memory for speaking. It also helps you instantly identify gaps in your active vocabulary or specific grammatical structures where you tend to hesitate. Don't fall into the trap of correcting every single mistake immediately. Your primary focus should be on maintaining the flow and conveying your message. However, do make a mental note of those tricky areas or persistent errors to review and refine later. Another highly effective solo practice technique is shadowing. This takes active listening a crucial step further by having you actively and physically mimic a native speaker. Find a short audio clip. Listen to a sentence or two, then pause and try to repeat it immediately, exactly as you heard it. Focus intensely on mirroring not just the words, but critically, the pronunciation, the rhythm, and the intonation. It's like being an echo, but an active one. Start with very short phrases, then gradually build up to longer sentences and even short paragraphs as you gain confidence. This technique isn't just about improving pronunciation. It powerfully trains your mouth and tongue muscles for the specific sounds and articulations of English, helps you internalize natural speech patterns, and remarkably improves your listening comprehension simultaneously by forcing you to process every phonetic detail. It might feel a bit silly or awkward at first, perhaps like doing karaoke with a language, but it's incredibly effective for developing a more natural, fluid flow in your speech. I had a student, Leo, who was particularly keen on improving his American accent. He chose a short monologue from his favorite TV show and committed to shadowing it every single day for a month. He meticulously recorded himself, compared his rendition to the original, and diligently worked on tiny nuances of rhythm and intonation. After just 1 month, his colleagues started commenting on how much more natural and authentic his English accent sounded. The sheer consistency and deliberate focus in his shadowing practice had truly paid off dramatically. Answering questions aloud is another fantastic and straightforward way to engage in solo speaking practice. Many excellent online resources offer extensive lists of conversational questions specifically tailored for English learners. Choose a set of questions related to a topic you enjoy, and for each one, pause the audio or your reading and answer it aloud in a complete sentence, or even a few sentences if you feel comfortable. The crucial point here is, don't just think the answer, say it. For example, if the question is, what is your favorite type of food and why? Logically, don't just think pizza. Articulate it fully. My favorite type of food is definitely pizza, especially with a lot of cheese, mushrooms, and maybe some olives. I love it because it's so versatile, and it's perfect for sharing with friends and family during a relaxed evening. This active recall and sentence construction process helps to powerfully solidify your vocabulary and grammar for practical conversational use. Let's try a quick practice now. I'm going to ask you a general question, and I want you to pause the audio and answer it aloud in a few sentences. Remember to speak clearly and try to expand on your initial thought. Question: if you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and what would you do there? Take a moment to formulate your answer, thinking about details, and then speak it out loud. Perhaps you talked about a dream destination like Japan or Italy, describing the sights you'd see, the food you'd taste, or the experiences you'd have. The very act of forming those coherent, descriptive sentences, of pulling words from your mental library and arranging them into meaningful expressions, is an invaluable and direct form of speaking practice. It bridges the gap between passive linguistic knowledge and active, spontaneous production. Summarizing or retelling something you've just listened to or read is another remarkably powerful speaking exercise. After you finish a podcast episode, a news article, or a chapter of a book, make it a habit to verbally summarize the main points in your own English words. If it was a story, try to retell the entire narrative, focusing on the plot, characters, and key events, as if you were explaining it to a friend. This multifaceted exercise forces your brain to actively process information, identify crucial details, synthesize them, and then reconstruct them using your own active vocabulary and grammar. It's a comprehensive practice that seamlessly links listening or reading comprehension with spontaneous speaking production. Imagine you just finished reading a short online news article about a new scientific discovery concerning artificial intelligence. You could then say aloud to yourself, "The article was mainly about a team of scientists who have developed a new type of AI that can write incredibly realistic poetry." It's a very interesting finding because it pushes the boundaries of what we thought AI could do creatively, and it raises new questions about the nature of human artistry. This trains your brain to synthesize complex information and express it concisely and coherently, essentially performing a mini presentation every time you do it. For those who enjoy a bit of acting or immersive learning, role-playing by yourself can be surprisingly effective and immensely beneficial. Imagine a common scenario you might encounter in an English-speaking environment: ordering food at a bustling restaurant, checking into a hotel, asking for directions to a landmark, or even navigating a challenging job interview. Actively play both roles in the scenario. Speak the lines for the waiter, then speak your own lines as the customer. This helps you intensely practice specific vocabulary, common phrases, and appropriate responses relevant to those particular situations. It builds not just linguistic proficiency, but also crucial confidence in navigating various real-life interactions. You can even use different voices or tones for each character to make it more engaging and dynamic, bringing the scenario to life. This kind of mental and verbal simulation is incredibly useful for mentally preparing yourself for actual high-stakes real-world interactions. And finally, for solo practice, recording yourself is immensely beneficial, though often accompanied by a fleeting sense of discomfort or awkwardness at first. Use your smartphone's voice recorder. Speak for a minute or two on any random topic that comes to mind. Describe your day, express an opinion on a current event, recount a personal story, or even just describe the room you're in. Then, take the time to listen back to your recording. Pay close attention to your pronunciation, your speaking speed, your intonation, and critically, areas where you hesitate, struggle to find words, or repeatedly make similar mistakes. You don't have to analyze every single error, which can be overwhelming. Instead, pick just one or two specific things to focus on and work to improve for your next recording. For instance, you might notice you frequently say or like, or that you consistently mispronounce a specific consonant sound. Being your own objective audience provides invaluable self-feedback, allowing you to catch errors or awkwardnesses that your brain might overlook in real-time speech. It builds self-awareness and helps you target your practice effectively. Beyond solo practice, speaking with others is where your fluency truly blossoms and takes flight. This is the interactive component, the real-world test of your ability to communicate effectively in real time. It's where theory meets practice and where genuine linguistic growth occurs. One of the most popular, accessible, and often highly effective ways to find dynamic practice partners is through dedicated language exchange platforms and mobile applications. Websites and apps like Tandem, HelloTalk, or Conversation Exchange connect you with native English speakers from all over the world who are actively learning your native language. This creates a beautifully symbiotic, mutually beneficial arrangement where you help them with your native tongue, and they, in turn, help you with English. When engaging in language exchange, it's crucial to set clear expectations from the outset. Discuss how much time you'll spend speaking each language during your session. For example, let's speak English for 20 minutes, then switch to Spanish for 20 minutes. Be patient and empathetic with your partner, and don't ever be afraid to politely ask for corrections or clarification yourself, and offer it gently in return. I know a student, Kenji, who used an online exchange app to connect with an American university student who was learning Japanese. They established a consistent routine, meeting twice a week for an hour-long session. The first 30 minutes were exclusively in English, followed by 30 minutes exclusively in Japanese. This structured yet flexible approach, combined with regular, consistent practice, helped Kenji become significantly more comfortable speaking spontaneously, understanding natural conversational English, and even picking up subtle cultural nuances. The key to successful language exchange is mutual respect, clear communication about learning goals, and a genuine willingness to learn from each other. If your budget allows, online tutors or small group conversation classes offer highly structured speaking practice with personalized expert feedback. A good tutor can precisely identify your specific weaknesses, gently but effectively correct your mistakes, and meticulously guide you through a variety of targeted speaking activities designed to challenge and improve you. Small group classes, on the other hand, provide a safe, supportive, and often less intimidating environment to practice with other learners at a similar level. This allows you to build confidence, observe how others handle challenges, and learn from each other's questions and mistakes in a collaborative setting. The primary benefit here is direct, immediate, and expert feedback, coupled with a clear, structured learning path tailored to your needs. Look for tutors who prioritize conversational fluency and communication strategies over just rote grammar drills. Another excellent, often informal option is to seek out English conversation groups in your local community. Many cities, especially those with universities, large expat populations, or dedicated language schools, host informal meetups where people gather specifically to practice English. Check local libraries, community centers, university bulletin boards, or online platforms for social events and language exchange clubs. These groups are typically relaxed and incredibly welcoming, providing a low-pressure environment to speak with people who have various accents and interact with different personalities. My friend, a naturally quiet woman named Svetlana, was initially very shy and hesitant about joining a local conversation group. She felt her English wasn't good enough and feared judgment. But after her very first session, she realized everyone was there with the same goal: to learn, to practice, and to support each other. She found the informal setting much less intimidating than a traditional classroom, and very quickly she was actively participating, sharing her thoughts, and her confidence grew visibly with each successive meeting. These groups are fantastic for getting authentic exposure to diverse speaking styles and building a supportive network of fellow learners and native speakers. When you are speaking with others, whether it's a language partner, a tutor, or a group, it's absolutely crucial to maximize your conversations. Don't just answer questions with a simple yes or no. Push yourself to elaborate, provide details, share anecdotes, and express your feelings. Actively ask open-ended questions yourself to keep the conversation flowing and to genuinely show your interest in what the other person is saying. Active listening is just as important in a conversation as active speaking. Truly listen to what the other person is saying, not just waiting for your turn to speak, and respond thoughtfully and relevantly. If you don't understand something, don't ever pretend you do. Politely ask for clarification. Could you please repeat that? Or, what exactly do you mean by that? Or, could you explain that word in a different way? It's much, much better to ask for clarification and ensure understanding than to misunderstand and potentially derail the entire conversation. Similarly, if you struggle to find a specific word, don't immediately give up or freeze. Try to describe the word you're looking for, or use a synonym if one comes to mind. This practice of circumlocution, talking around a word, is a vital skill for fluent speakers, as it allows you to maintain the flow of communication even when your vocabulary fails you for a moment. Overcoming shyness and fear is often the biggest and most deeply rooted hurdle for language learners. The fear of making mistakes is common, pervasive, and incredibly paralyzing. To effectively combat this, you must consciously and actively reframe the situation in your mind. See every single conversation, every interaction, no matter how brief, as an invaluable opportunity to learn, to practice, to grow, not as a rigid test to pass or fail. Remind yourself constantly that everyone, even native speakers, makes mistakes. It's an inherent part of human communication. Focus intently on the primary goals, making a connection and ensuring understanding. Before a challenging conversation, take a few deep, calming breaths. Start with simple greetings and familiar questions, and gradually, gently, build up to more complex topics. The more you speak, the less intimidating it will become. Speaking is a muscle that strengthens with consistent, brave use. Visualize successful conversations in your mind. Before a meeting or a call, mentally picture yourself speaking confidently, expressing your ideas clearly, and being perfectly understood. This kind of positive mental rehearsal can significantly reduce pre-conversation anxiety and boost your self-assurance. To maintain conversations more smoothly and naturally, learning and strategically using common conversational fillers and transition phrases is incredibly helpful. These aren't just empty words or sounds. They cleverly buy your brain precious milliseconds to formulate your next thought or retrieve the right vocabulary, all without creating awkward, unnatural silences. Examples include swing, zrenia, logically, let me see, zrenia, to vai dobrava pros, swing, actually, or swing. These are linguistic bridges that keep the conversation flowing naturally, making your speech sound more authentic and less hesitant. For example, if someone asks you a question that requires a moment of thoughtful consideration, instead of just a blank, unnerving pause, you could smoothly say, "That's a good question. I haven't really thought about it, but I suppose." This shows engagement, buys you crucial thinking time, and makes you sound more fluent and confident even as you are actively processing your thoughts. They are the grease that keeps the conversational gears turning smoothly. Let's quickly try out some conversational fillers. I'll ask a question, and I want you to pause the audio and answer it aloud in a few sentences. Remember to speak clearly and try to expand on your initial thought. Question: what's your opinion on the most effective way to stay motivated when learning a new skill? Try starting your answer with, "Well, you know," or "Let me see," or "That's a good question." Then give your opinion. This small habit, when practiced consistently, can make a profoundly positive difference in your conversational flow and confidence. Beyond just producing individual words, pronunciation and intonation are absolutely critical for being truly understood and for sounding natural. You don't necessarily need to eliminate every trace of your native accent. Indeed, a foreign accent can be charming. But clear pronunciation and natural rhythm are vital for effective, unambiguous communication. One key aspect often overlooked is connected speech. In natural, rapid English, words often aren't pronounced in isolation. They flow together, merging into a continuous stream of sound. Sounds might merge, disappear, or change. For example, "What are you doing?" often sounds like "What are you doing?" Or "cup of tea" can effortlessly sound like "cup of tea." "Did you" frequently becomes "didja." Understanding and actively practicing these common reductions, linkages, and weak forms will not only make your own speech more natural, but also significantly improve your listening comprehension by preparing your ear for how words sound in connected sequences. Try shadowing specific phrases that demonstrate connected speech. Listen meticulously to how native speakers link sounds, then try to imitate them precisely. For example, practice "I'm going to," often pronounced "I'm gonna," or "want to," becoming "wanna." These seemingly small phonetic details make a huge difference in how easily native speakers perceive your fluency and how readily you understand their unscripted speech. Stress and rhythm are also fundamental pillars of English pronunciation. English is a stress-timed language, meaning certain syllables within words and certain words within sentences are emphasized more strongly than others. This creates a distinctive natural rhythm. For example, in the word photographer, the stress falls heavily on the second syllable, photographer. In a sentence, "I want to go to the store," the emphasized words carry the main communicative meaning, and the listener's ear naturally gravitates to them. If you misplace the stress in a word, it can become difficult to understand, or its meaning can even subtly change. Similarly, incorrect sentence stress can make your speech sound flat, confusing, or even aggressive. Practice identifying the stressed syllables in new words and diligently try to mimic the sentence stress you hear in authentic English audio. The correct stress can make an otherwise grammatically perfect sentence sound awkward or unnatural, while good stress can make even a slightly grammatically incorrect sentence perfectly understandable and natural sounding. Intonation, the melodic rise and fall of your voice, is incredibly powerful. It conveys a wealth of meaning, emotion, and nuance that individual words alone cannot. A rising intonation at the end of a sentence often indicates a question, while a falling intonation typically signals a statement or a sense of finality. Intonation also expresses a wide range of emotions like surprise, anger, excitement, boredom, or certainty. For example, saying "really" with a sharp, rising, excited tone clearly conveys disbelief or pleasant surprise, whereas saying it with a flat, falling tone might indicate skepticism, impatience, or simple boredom. Pay incredibly close attention to the intonation patterns of native speakers, especially in emotional or questioning contexts. Try to meticulously imitate these patterns in your self-talk or during shadowing exercises. The more you deliberately integrate natural intonation, the more your English will sound alive, expressive, and truly authentic, making your communication far more engaging and effective. It's like adding vibrant color, texture, and emotional depth to your spoken words, transforming them from flat statements into rich expressions. Let's do a quick intonation practice. I'll say a simple phrase, and I want you to repeat it with the specific intonation I use. First, a simple statement. She finished her homework. Now, a question using the exact same words, but with a different intonation. She finished her homework? Notice the distinct difference in the voice's pitch and contour at the end. Try to mimic that precise melodic pattern. This conscious awareness and deliberate imitation are profoundly powerful for improving your naturalness and communicative effectiveness. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, remember that learning to speak English easily and fluently is a long-term journey, a marathon that requires sustained effort, not a quick sprint. Motivation and consistency are, without a doubt, your most powerful allies on this extended path. Set realistic and specific goals. Instead of a vague and potentially overwhelming goal like, I want to speak English fluently, break it down into concrete, measurable, and achievable targets. For example, this week, I will have 3 15-minute conversations in English with my language partner. Or, by the end of this month, I will be able to describe my favorite movie plot in English for 5 minutes without major hesitation. These specific goals provide clear targets and make the entire journey feel less daunting and more manageable. Track your progress diligently. This can be as simple as marking off days on a calendar when you practice, keeping a brief daily log of your speaking activities, or noting down new phrases you used successfully. Seeing visual evidence of your consistency and incremental progress is incredibly motivating and provides a tangible sense of accomplishment. When you inevitably feel discouraged or hit a plateau, look back at how far you've genuinely come. Reflect on a time a few months ago when a particular phrase or grammatical structure was difficult for you, and now it flows easily from your lips. This kind of self-awareness and appreciation for your growth fuels continued effort and reinforces the belief in your own capabilities. Understand that you will undoubtedly face plateaus and setbacks. This is a completely normal and unavoidable part of any complex learning curve, not a sign of failure. There will be days when you feel like you're not making any progress, when words seem to desert you, or when you feel more hesitant than usual despite your best efforts. Don't let these transient moments derail your entire journey. Acknowledge the feeling of frustration, but don't dwell on it. Remind yourself that consistent, small efforts accumulate into truly significant progress over time. The cumulative power of showing up daily, even for just 15 to 20 minutes of focused, intentional practice, far outweighs infrequent, long, and draining study sessions that might lead to burnout. Imagine a gardener tending to a thriving plant. Small, consistent watering, weeding, and care are exponentially more effective than sporadic, overwhelming floods. Patience and perseverance are key. Celebrate your small victories loudly and proudly. This is paramount for maintaining motivation and building long-term confidence. Did you successfully order food at a new restaurant entirely in English? Did you understand a complex sentence in a podcast without having to look it up or rewind? Did you use a new idiom or a difficult phrasal verb correctly and naturally in a conversation? Acknowledge these achievements. Share them with a friend, a fellow learner, or your language partner. Positive reinforcement significantly boosts confidence and makes the entire learning journey feel more rewarding and enjoyable. Treat yourself to something small, or simply allow yourself to bask in the satisfying feeling of accomplishment. Each small victory is a testament to your hard work and moves you closer to your ultimate goal. Remember Liam's story from our previous episode, who, during his challenging marathon, understood that true success was about consistent effort, persevering through discomfort, and simply showing up day after day, even when it felt impossible, not just winning the race. Your English fluency journey is very much the same. Each step you take, each word you utter, each conversation you bravely engage in, no matter how small or imperfect, is actively contributing to your overall progress and bringing you closer to your desired fluency. You possess the inherent ability, you have access to a wealth of resources, and now you are equipped with a comprehensive set of practical human-centered strategies. So, as we bring this extensive guide to a close, I want to reiterate the single, most important and empowering message. Start speaking. Today, right now. Don't wait until you feel ready or until you believe you are perfect. Embrace the beautiful messiness of learning, the exhilarating imperfection of communication. Consciously use the myriad strategies we've discussed today. Talk to yourself, shadow authentic speakers, summarize what you've heard or read, experiment with your newfound chunks of language. Find someone to speak with, even if it's just for 5 minutes initially, and gradually build up. Every single word you utter, every courageous attempt you make, every hesitant phrase you voice, is a vital step closer to speaking English easily and fluently. Embrace the process, be kind and patient with yourself, and make sure to celebrate every small, hard-won victory along the way. You already possess a strong foundation. Now, it's time to confidently empower your voice, to bravely express yourself, and to truly let your English shine in the world. Thank you for being such dedicated, inspiring listeners on Best English Podcast. It's truly a privilege and a joy to be part of your incredible language learning journey. Keep practicing, keep speaking, keep growing, and I have absolutely no doubt that you will achieve your English speaking goals and unlock a world of new possibilities. Until next time, keep those voices active, your ears open, and your spirits high.